tune right in on that. I had the impression that he's not particularly interested in small talk and chit-chat. Anytime the conversation would move in a rather serious vein, he'd stay with it.
Well, we are now looking at the three flags, the Canadian flag. The flag you see in the middle is the flag of the Holy See, as the Vatican is called, and the flag of the province of Alberta. Just to the right of your screen, you can see a hangar, and the papal aircraft is just beyond that hangar. There you can see one of our CBC cameramen who is atop a ramp, and when the papal plane arrives at the ramp, he's going to have to scurry down and out of the way in a hurry. But the airbase is on the outskirts of Edmonton, and it is just adjacent to the site where Pope John Paul visited Edmonton 3 years ago. That was a rather marvelous sight in Edmonton 3 years ago, when the Pope, on a very, very windy day, stood beneath a huge symbolic eagle and spoke of the dangers of nuclear war. And I remember that famous phrase that he made, Father Murphy, that the third world is going to demand the help of the rich and the powerful. And it was one of the more powerful messages that he gave in that visit. And I'm sure he's going to make a similarly powerful message to the native peoples tomorrow.
I think he always makes the connection between faith and belief, or between faith and action, between faith and justice. As you said, he did that here, and he put it, you know, in perhaps the strongest language he used in Canada. He talked about the nations of the South rising up in judgment in our nations, our country of the North.
And in some ways, as you know, there are two Canadas, because there are disadvantaged people in the Northwest Territories. As a matter of fact, in many ways, we talk about poverty and unemployment. But we forget there's such a big problem in.
That's very true. One thing I'm going to be interested in noticing, Larry, when he steps out of the plane here, is how tired he is. I caught the end of the show in the Mass in Detroit, and he looked at the end of that Mass, and I was thinking to myself, last time he arrived in Edmonton, having come from Toronto and stopped for a number of services in Winnipeg and then on for a service that began that evening in Edmonton, he was tired then. Perhaps he was more tired than any time during the papal visit. It was the only time he sat down, actually, in the Pope Mobile.
Well, we will have a chance in just a few moments to see the Pope. There is the plane, the first really close-up shot of it. It's TWA 747, and aboard the aircraft, along with the Pope, is the contingent from the Vatican and a press contingent that has been following him across the United States. They will be disembarked first at the rear of the plane, and then the Pope will be greeted, first of all, by Archbishop Angelo Palmas, who is the papal pro-nuncio in Canada. That is a roundabout way of saying that he is the ambassador of the Vatican to Canada. And the Archbishop of Edmonton, Joseph McNeil, they will board the jetliner, greet the Pope there, spend a few moments with him while the other people aboard the 747 get off. And then the Pope himself will come down the ramp to step on Canadian soil for his second visit. Now, we emphasize again that this is a very, very informal welcome to the Pope, with federal, provincial, and religious officials being here. And the big program is tomorrow in Fort Simpson, where the Governor General will greet the Pope. But it will be a visit where the focus will certainly be on the native people and on the Aboriginal people. And as we are on camera, you can now see the plane has landed just behind us. As yet, I have not had a chance to see whether we have any of the officials out yet to greet the Pope. You see the Shepherd 1 on the side of the plane. And so what you'll see first of all is the ramp coming out, rolling it up to the stairs.
I never cease to be amazed, Larry, at the sense of excitement, even with a relatively small crowd that seems to develop any time the Holy Father travels. He has that capacity of bringing out something that seems to be deep within everyone, and I feel it myself again this evening, I must say.
Well, we certainly do have a great sense of deja vu in a way, because I can remember quite clearly the visit to Edmonton, that marvelous Mass. I can remember as well the trip to Vancouver after Edmonton, and how tired we all were on that trip. There is the cockpit of the 747, and it landed just about exactly on time, even though it left Detroit about 29 minutes late. The Pope has been known to be late on some of his trips. We will never forget the time he arrived by train in Montreal during that visit 3 years ago, and he was many hours late. And there it is, the TWA 747, the press contingent in front of it. And as yet, as I say, we have not seen any of the official greeting party, but they are being kept in a waiting room here, and we assume that they will be here very shortly. Father Murphy, are the native people going to be too hopeful about what the Pope can accomplish in a political way? As you know, when he was here 3 years ago, he did give a speech in which he had hoped that they would be given a just and equitable form of self-government. That was before these negotiations took place. Are they going to be too highly expectant about what he can accomplish?
I don't think so, Larry. I believe, as you've indicated, that when he gave the speech from Yellowknife to the people in Fort Simpson, although he couldn't be there, he did support them. But he's going to say more tomorrow, I expect.
We can now see some of the people who will be meeting the Pope. Some of them are bishops from Alberta.
The two bishops who are on the right of the screen there, Larry, that just went off the screen, unfortunately, were on the left was Bishop Roy, and right was Bishop Paul O'Byrne from Calgary. Ahead of him, I believe, were the president and vice president of the Bishops' Conference, Archbishop Hayes, the newly elected president, Archbishop Hayes of Halifax, and there's Bishop O'Byrne and Bishop Roy there.
Right.
And ahead of them, there's Bishop LaBelle, the newly elected vice president of the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, and ahead of him, Archbishop James Hayes,
Jim Hayes,
Bishop of Halifax.
And there you can see the stairs up to the doorway, and they are rolling out the red carpet for the Pope.
That honor guard, or the honor party, is coming out now. They're coming to the foot of the steps, led by Archbishop Joseph McNeil and the Archbishop of Edmonton and the Apostolic Pronuncio, Archbishop Angelo Palmas.
Some of these people are wearing top coats because there is a bit of a chilly wind here at the Namao Air Base in Edmonton, but it's been a beautiful day, and it promises to be a beautiful day tomorrow in Fort Simpson. In case you just joined us, we can tell you that it is going to be partly cloudy in Fort Simpson tomorrow. But the Pope's plane will land there because the special radar equipment has been installed, so there won't be a problem as there was a few years ago. And some of the cars are now coming up to take the Pope into Edmonton, and we expect that in a few moments the door of Shepherd 1 will open, and we'll have an opportunity for the people to climb aboard to meet the Pope. There you see the car that will take the Pope to the Grey Nuns Center in Edmonton. He stayed there 3 years ago when he was there, and
There's the doors opening.
the door is opening now.
And there's Father
And
Roberto
there's
Tucci.
Roberto Tucci, Father Roberto Tucci, the Jesuit, who has been organizing papal visits for about the last 3.5 years, I believe.
Even a little longer
A little
than that.
longer
I think,
than that,
yeah,
nearly 4 years.
Five or
Is it
six
5 or
years
6?
maybe now.
And I believe that's the representative of the TWA in the Browns jacket.
So I imagine that he's come down to indicate to Archbishop Palmas and Archbishop McNeil when they should ascend the steps and go to greet the Holy Father.
Now, while all of this is happening, in your view, there's something happening behind us, and that is that the luggage is being unloaded, and the Pope is at the door. There he is. You can see
Oh, yes, that's
him.
right.
He has actually come to the door of the plane to greet Archbishop Angelo Palmas, the papal pronuncio, and Archbishop Joseph McNeil of Edmonton.
There's another gentleman that ascended the stairs too. I imagine that's probably a protocol chief, is it?
Well, I
Larry?
believe it is, but I can't get it close enough.
It's hard to see,
view.
yes, from this distance. I understand that motorcade is going to go into town at something like 100 kilometers an hour this evening for security reasons.
It will be a very fast trip, and I'm sure that the Pope is ready, as we would all be, for a good rest tonight. So I don't think he'll be engaging in any chit-chat. As a matter of fact, we expect that he'll be getting to bed very early tonight, because it's an early morning tomorrow. He'll be getting up about 6 a.m. Tomorrow morning, and he'll be leaving at around, 8 o'clock in the morning, Alberta time, for Fort Simpson.
8 o'clock, that's right.
And there is the Pope descending the ramp. We thought, as a matter of fact, that it would take longer, but here he comes. In his traditional white, wearing a white overcoat, and now he will be introduced to, there's Bill McKnight, the Minister of Indian Affairs and Northern Development. And there's Premier Don Getty and Mrs. Getty.
Immediately behind him is Cardinal Casseroli, and then followed by Archbishop Palmas, I say.
And there's Steve Poprosky, the longtime member of Parliament from Edmonton. And Mrs. Poprosky.
I think those are local members of Parliament, unless I'm mistaken, Larry.
Yes, they are. That's, I think it's Jim Edwards. Well, I'm going to leave it up to you, Father Murphy. We haven't had a real close-up of the Pope because our cameras cannot get as close as we would like them to be, but what's your assessment? He still looks very vigorous and with it to me.
He is a vigorous man, but I was interested in the fact that he seems to be moving through that receiving line, rather quickly. And now that was intended. It's not unusual on an occasion like this. Here he's coming up to Archbishop Hayes, the president of the Conference of Bishops, just elected last week in Ottawa, as a matter of fact. And beside him, Bishop Robert LaBelle of Valleyfield, the newly elected vice president of the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops.
Archbishop Hayes, along with others, will be traveling with the Pope to Fort Simpson tomorrow. As we mentioned, he'll leave here at 8 o'clock in the morning Alberta time and arrive in Fort Simpson at 10 o'clock. And our live coverage on the CBC network will begin at 10 Mountain Time. That is noon in Eastern Canada.
There's the other two bishops, Bishop Paulo Byrne from Calgary and Raymond Raw from St. Paul, Alberta.
And the commander here at the Namao Air Base,
And the last gentleman here,
Colonel
Larry,
W.F. Buckham.
and the last gentleman here is Roy Watson, who was the organizer of the papal visit here in Edmonton in 1984. I think he and his wife were the last two people in the line to meet the Holy Father, as a matter of fact. Yes, they seem to be moving him.
Well, as you said, they're moving him very quickly toward that limousine. He is stopping to wave to the press contingent and to give them an opportunity to take his picture before he enters the limousine. And as you mentioned, Father Murphy, that motorcade will move out of here very quickly and travel about 100 kilometers an hour right down the highway to Edmonton, where the Pope will spend the night at the Grey Nuns Center. And I believe the gentleman who just got into the car, isn't that his personal secretary?
Monsignor Dziewicz, exactly.
That's right. Yes. And he was brought, I believe, by Pope John Paul from Poland, was he not?
From the Diocese of Krakow, where he was, the Pope was the Cardinal Archbishop. I imagine traveling with the Holy... He always travels, or... Yes, always travels in the same limousine as the Holy Father, together with the bishop of the diocese in which he finds himself. And so Archbishop O'Neill will be in that car as well, too, I'm sure. I imagine they're loading up the other cars now, are they? Yes, the people are climbing into the other cars. And
the people from the press contingent who were...
and they're moving away.
With the Pope are getting on the bus, and the car is beginning to move. So this has been a very brief arrival ceremony here at Namao Air Base in Edmonton. The Pope is now going into the city to overnight before going to Fort Simpson. And Monsignor Murphy, before we leave, tomorrow I think is going to be a very emotional, a very important day of what I would call faith and culture.
Well, I think it's particularly important for many of the elders who are going to be there. They were the people whose pictures we saw on television, the people who cried, the people who knew that their spiritual leader was going to be with them. And they realize that he has come back. They realize that he is going to speak to them, certainly in terms of the political aspirations of all the Aboriginal peoples of Canada, but he is also going to say to them that they have a word in their language, in their custom, in their signs and symbol, a word of faith, which must be heard throughout Canada and perhaps throughout North America.
Well, Monsignor Murphy, as the Pope leaves to get into Edmonton, I think that we are going to need an early night because we'll be rising at the first...